morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm Mary Winters, and you are watching Visionary Aging. I am the owner of About Senior Solutions, and we provide all kinds of resources, advocacy. We're constantly advocating for our clients, especially now in the hospitals and facilities with COVID. And we provide planning and all kinds of guidance for older adults. And we have some really fun new things coming up too, where we have a great flat fee where we can set you up in our encrypted system, set up a profile for you. We can add all of your medications, your physician's contacts, any special documents that you have in regards to healthcare decision makers or power of attorney, and make that all accessible to you so that if you had an emergency, it will be accessible to you with just a fingertip. So we're really excited about launching that. We'll have more to come on that. We also have our Put a Twinkle in Your Wrinkle with a 100-year-old birthday that we're celebrating. In fact, let's see, they didn't put very much up about him, but let me see if I can find him. He is, here we go. We have, oh, it's not going to let me show him. Here we go. Oh, is he in here? Oh, because I'm on solo. Here we go. I'm going to show our little man here who is 100 years old. Today, actually, is his birthday. And his name is Jim. Oh, sorry, Jack. John B. Walters, also known as Jack. His birthday is today. He is 100 years old. His family didn't mention anything about his past or his history, but I can only imagine he's done incredible things over the last 100 years of his life. But what they're really hoping for is that you will send him a card. So you can always contact our office at 359-0108. That's 626 area code, 359-0108. And we'll give you his address, and you can send him a card, or I'll post it later on Facebook. He is at 325 Collins Road Southeast, number 225 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. My family was from there. And his zip code is 52403. So if you want to let Jack know that you are happy to celebrate his birthday with him, I think he would love a card or a postcard or some kind of a little letter from you. So also, I think the other thing that's kind of interesting is we have a gentleman who is going to be turning 100 later this year. In fact, I think it's kind of like right in the middle of the year, like almost exactly when the year will be half over and we'll still have half of the year. So June 10th, we have a very special person who is turning 100. Not his wife, but we have Prince Philip is actually turning 100 June 10th. I just thought it was kind of a notable thing because the press has been talking quite a bit about that in England. And as we know, Prince Philip is the Queen's husband, and he really doesn't want to have anything to do with having a 100th birthday celebration. Buckingham Palace is really pushing, and apparently Queen Elizabeth is wanting to celebrate something special for his birthday. I guess a palace aide over at the Telegraph said that the prince really doesn't want any fuss, and he basically said he couldn't imagine anything worse than turning 100, and adds, "Bits of me are falling off already." I probably should try that in a British accent, but Prince Philip, it's amazing. 100 years old, incredible. I just think it's absolutely wonderful. So let me go on next and see if we can add Steve McCullough with his caregiver question, and we'll do his little intro. Let's see if I can do that right. Here we go. Well, let's see. We have, I'm going to try to find Steve here now. Steve, are you here? Oh, I know, because I'm on solo. Here we go. There you go. Good morning, my friend.
There you are. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So tell me, Did you have a good New Year celebration? Even though we're
I
all quarantined
did.
up?
I spent it with good friends.
Good, 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 good. That's important.
Yeah, so it was fun.
Yeah.
I got a
So,
little hike. I got a hike in this year already, and I got a little run in. So
oh,
it was
good.
off to a good start.
Really good. So we're off to a good start.
Yes.
So tell me, what is your caregiver question today?
So I know last month we talked about the vaccine and whether or not people should get the vaccine. So the question today is, if there are people who do want to get the vaccine, how are they being distributed? If you're in like a senior assisted housing facility, will someone come to them? Do they need to go contact a provider? Is there a plan? I know that from what I understand, that they're not being rolled out as quickly as we expected. So, how do we go about getting a vaccine?
That's a great question, and I'm not exactly sure how it's completely rolling out, but the CDC, or actually LA County Health Department, has displayed how they are rolling the vaccines out. I was fortunate enough to get the vaccine earlier this week. It's a 2-dose, so basically I'll be waiting for the booster 28 days later. There are 2 types of vaccines. There's the Moderna and there's the Pfizer. There's different refrigeration levels and different time span. I think Moderna is 28 days, and I think it's 30 days for the Pfizer before you get your booster. It's all a little bit different dosing and everything. It's very interesting. So what they've done is they started rolling out to the hospitals. So probably 2 weeks ago or so, the hospital staff, everybody that's a high risk, taking care of the people with COVID. We want to keep them safe, and we don't want to expose the people coming into the hospital, obviously. So they've been taken care of. Now we're rolling into what they're calling phase A, 1A. They have 1A, 1B, but phase 1A, tier 2. Now they're looking at vaccinating people like myself, home care agencies, the staff in home care agencies, the home caregivers, home health, hospice workers. So it'll start trickling down. Probably the general population will see it more towards mid to late February into March. But if you want to call our office, we have the whole rundown of what LA County's doing, and you can go on site and look to see how everybody else is rolling it out. But it's very interesting. It'll probably be closer to March when the general population starts getting the overall vaccine available. But I would definitely check with your doctor, and I would also check with your pharmacist where you get your prescription medications, because they will be distributing the vaccines as well, and so they may have a better timeline for you.
Contacting your office, is that on is like an automated call or answer machine that has that information, or do they talk to someone directly, or how does that work?
During office hours, usually somebody's in the office answering the phone, so they can check in that way. And we have an answering service for after hours, and they can just leave a message and say that's specifically what they're looking for, and somebody will get back to them. Or they can email me or email the office, info@aboutsenior.solutions.com, and we'll get it over to you. I know you didn't get a pen, so I'll just give you the email again. It's info@aboutsenior.solutions.com, and we'll get whatever questions answered for you if you have them. So
Excellent.
yeah. So have you heard much about Proposition 19?
I actually had a good conversation with my mom about that. So yes, I know. Yes.
Yeah. So
you voted wrong on it.
Yeah. So it was, it's kind of interesting. I think there's some bittersweet about the whole thing, but I'll be interviewing Nancy Valentine right after. And she's going to share a little bit about how it's affecting us. And she's a real estate broker, so she has a great perspective on it. And I know she wants to make sure she's helping her clients and giving them the best benefits, and at least giving them information about Prop 19. So very interesting. So I'm going to go ahead. How about if we go ahead, I'll talk a little bit about Nancy, and we can chat after Nancy and I talk. How's that?
Sounds good. Have a great show.
All right. Thank you. And let's see. I think we want to also find, let me see. Nancy has a beautiful picture here. So I'm going to show a little picture of Nancy. And I will talk about her for a little second here. Not about her, but let me tell you a little bit about her expertise. Nancy has been practicing in the area of real estate since 1991. And I have had the pleasure of knowing her through a group called the Fiduciary Roundtable of San Gabriel Valley for years now. She was on the board for 8 years. I was the president for 2 years. It's a fantastic resource group filled with attorneys and services devoted to seniors. And I think that's how, and Nancy and I are so similar, we're very connected in wanting to make sure that our senior clients are taken care of. And she's also very interesting. She's been the sponsor, the exclusive sponsor for the Pasadena Bar Association. And she's also a member of PFAC. Most people don't necessarily know what that is, but it's the Professional Fiduciaries Association of California. And some of you may know what a fiduciary is, but there are professionals who can handle your affairs. If you don't have family, or you feel like it would be easier to have a professional handle your affairs for you, so they can do that on the level of your finances or taking care of you personally. But the thing that's so great about Nancy too is she will sit down and develop a plan to maximize the value of your home. And she's extremely compassionate. She loves listening. She knows that every house has a story, or every family has that story behind the house. And it's so important to know who you are and to make sure that she's taking care of you. We have lots of emotion wrapped up into selling our houses, and sometimes that drama can unfold when we're in stress, but Nancy's right there to walk you through it. She's also really good about the specific laws that affect older homeowners and how that transfer may affect them. So I think that's also very important to have that ability and knowledge. The recent passing of Proposition 19 is going to have a massive effect on the real estate taxes, and it's dramatically changed Proposition 13, which has been so important in California for us too. So she's going to talk about the good and bad components of Proposition 19, help us kind of figure that whole world out. So let me go ahead and we'll welcome Nancy Valentine to our program today. And let me see if I can find her here. I think she's here. Let's see. Show her here. And now let's see, we'll take her out there. Hi, good morning, Nancy. I got you in. Oh, good. Let's see. I'm not hearing you. Can you hear me okay? Okay. For some reason, I'm not hearing Nancy. Oh, you know what? Because I have you on mute. Let me unmute you. Sometimes we hear that little scattering in the background, so it's a little easier if I unmute. Then I forget sometimes that I mute people. So you are unmuted. We hear you very clearly.
Terrific.
So thank you for joining me this morning.
You. And thank you for having me, and thank you for explaining in the introduction exactly what I do, and also the importance of Proposition 19. And it's important because we all have heard since 1978 about Proposition 13.
Right.
Because that really allowed people who owned a home a long time or wanted to keep a home in the family over generations to keep their real estate taxes in California low. That was a big deal, and it helped a lot of people be able to stay in their homes and keep the homes and pass them on to their children. They could also, as part of their estate plan, and a lot of people in California did this, they were hardworking people, and when they got some money together, they would go out and buy another property. Maybe they wanted one of their children to live in it. Maybe they wanted a little getaway up in the mountains, Arrowhead, or any place, or maybe they wanted a beach house. It gets really hot here in the valleys in the summer. So a lot of people did that long time ago, maybe in the 60s. And relative to where the prices are now, they didn't pay very much. It seemed like a lot at the time because salaries were much lower and they had really scraped and saved to do that. But now those properties, by and large, are worth a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so what California said is, you're not paying taxes on an assessed value that anywhere approaches the fair market value. And we need some extra money. And so they decided to go after this proposition to change it. And that was called Proposition 19. And it came up for a vote, and it passed. Not by a whole lot. It was 51% to 49, somewhere around there, but it did pass. And now what we're finding is, as people are reading the details of the proposition, they go, wow, this is huge. And they didn't understand really what they were voting for, perhaps. And now they're having to look really at their estate plans, because there are a lot of people, like I said, who were really hardworking. They have stayed in a house for a long time because they wanted their children to have it.
Right.
And now the children are going to have to pay real estate taxes on the fair market value. And so if you look, with one exception, and that is if the child stays living in the home as a principal resident. So
Yes.
parent,
So I would imagine, so somebody with special needs, if a parent sets something up for the child to stay at home, but specifically they don't have to be special needs as long as they're living in the house.
right.
It gives them from that increase, right?
So, right, the parent has to have had the home, be living in the property at the time that they pass, if we're talking about that scenario. And then the child who's inherited, it's called parent-child transfer. They have to have it as a principal residence too. And they also have to register as a homeowner's exemption in California, which is how you declare that it's your primary residence, within 1 year. It used to be you had 3 years to do that.
I know, really? Oh, that's changed. Okay, so that's good to know.
And so now I've had many clients who have multiple homes, and maybe this daughter is living by the beach or something in a home that's been in the family for 30 years. That home, when the parent dies, is going to be stepped up in terms of real estate taxes. And so if you had a home that maybe you paid $30,000 for in the 1960s, and maybe now it's worth $2 million, that's going to be a huge amount of real estate taxes that you're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
Now, you can transfer it parent to child if it stays a principal residence, but now there's actually a limit of $1 million. So let me give you a little story. Somebody bought that house, $30,000 in the 1960s, and guess what? It's worth $2 million. Well, the assessed value is probably around $200,000 because it goes up a little bit every year. It's 2% is what they're able to do. So before, somebody could transfer that to the child, and the child would keep paying taxes regardless of the value, now the fair market value, as if it were still only $200,000. Now it's only the value 200 plus $1 million. So they get the low tax basis up to $1.2 million, but on the difference between $1.2 million and 2, the fair market value, which is 800,000, they have to pay taxes at that price. So it's going to affect people.
Yeah, well.
Most homes have really gone up in value that much. You can maybe in other parts of the country not, but here in California, we've had huge run-ups in prices.
That's the thing. I mean, California, and maybe Proposition 13 has allowed our property to increase in value like it has. And at the same time, California is the best as far as the coast and our weather. I mean, you know.
That's right. Yeah. And also a lot of people want to pass homes on through generations. I mean, I've had clients, maybe you have too, where grandma lived in the house and then she gave it to her daughter, and that daughter wants to pass it on to the son. And that basis can be really low. I mean, there's some $5 million homes, and under the old law, which was Proposition 13, you could pass a $5 or a $10 million home to a child, and it was able to keep that low basis. Can't do that anymore. It's just the low basis, your assessed value plus $1 million. So it's going to affect really everybody.
Yeah, it really will. So
Now,
talk a little bit about the pros, because there were a few benefits built into the Proposition 19 also.
well, part of the pros are that if you're over 55, before you could only transfer your value, so that same value for real estate taxes, if you bought a property of equal or lesser value of what you sold it for, and only if it was in particular counties. So that's Proposition 90 and Proposition 60. Those are also gone. The good news is that now you can buy a more expensive home anywhere in the state of California, and you can take that basis, let's go back to the example, 200, and buy something else. If it's 2 million, if you sell it doesn't matter what you sell your house for. If you sell your house for $1.5 million, and you buy something for 2 million, then you only pay the tax on that little overage. And so that was not possible before. You couldn't buy something that was more expensive. And a lot of times people were trying to move, maybe they'd lived in a more modest area and they wanted to move closer to their children, and their children might have lived in a more expensive area and they couldn't afford to buy there. So that opens it up to the seniors, 55 and over. And another good thing is you can do it 3 times. Before it was
Oh,
once.
you can. I thought, oh, okay. So I thought it still was once. Oh, great. Okay. Really?
And
If you don't like that child, you can move on with the next child. And
that's
the next
right.
child.
You can try it out. And that's why sometimes I've had clients who've moved to be close to a child and then that child leaves because they get a job transfer or maybe something else, like they get a divorce. And then they were kind of stuck because they couldn't do it. So now you can do it 3 times. So that's good news. And it's good for seniors. And I think that that's why the bill, I think that's what people really heard a lot. And that's what I think the general public was thinking, that it would help loosen up inventory because more seniors, not necessarily retired, but maybe thinking of retirement, could then readjust their living situation. And so maybe there'd be more houses because, as we all know, there isn't enough inventory right now. And there hasn't been for a long time. So that's what people were hoping for. It's just the first part that I've talked about. I don't think very many people understood that. Now, if you own your home and you don't want to sell, your taxes will stay the same. These problems will only happen when you pass. So really, it's not the homeowner's problem. It's going to be their heirs. And so that's why we're suggesting that if you own a home and you had an intention of leaving it to your family, that maybe you want to look at your estate plan, talk to your attorney, and talk to your accountant and see if you want to transfer the ownership to that child now. That beach house we were talking about, or a house in the mountains, you could give it to the children before you die, but then there's a capital gains issue. So you have to really run the numbers to figure out for your scenario what works best. But
That'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting.
Yeah. So the main thing is learn what your options are and ask questions. The only thing is there is a deadline. So if you decide that you want to transfer it to your children, or anybody else for that matter, but it has to be, it's parent-child transfer, or to somebody with special needs, that has to be recorded by February 16th.
February 16th. Okay.
And that's the little drama that's coming.
Okay.
Because there's a very hard deadline.
So tell me, what other things are you predicting in the market for this year? I know you've been selling and buying homes for people for many years. And you've seen the ups and downs over the years, the cycles. And gosh, I can't believe that we're still riding this high wave.
It's the whole situation with COVID. Nobody knew what was going to happen in March, just like nobody knew what was going to happen with the stock market. And like the stock market, housing prices have gone through the roof. And it's really because people are stuck at home. They're now working at home, and they've looked around at their living situation and they go, something's got to change. And it's on all different levels. People, before, they wanted a open floor plan so that all the rooms could be open and you could have a lot of parties. Now people need separate spaces. They need a place for the dad to work, the mom to work, and the kids to do at home. So all of a sudden that open floor plan is out the door. The more traditional, where you have actual rooms, is there. And people want yards. And so just a couple of years ago, everyone was saying, oh gosh, we have these drought tolerant because nobody wants to pay the water bills, and they wanted properties on smaller lots. And the properties on houses that had large properties weren't selling as well. Now it's through the roof because everybody wants a yard so they can, go out and do something
in their own yard, right? Have some space.
Yeah, and there's also a real sense of urgency. If people make the decision that they want to move, they want to do it, and they are motivated. They go out, because it's also a little difficult right now to, show properties. We have our protocols. You have to wear masks. You have to sign forms. You have to sanitize. And so the people out looking, those buyers, are really motivated, and they are the ones who are pushing the prices through the roof.
Yeah, I would imagine the buyers are very motivated, mostly because you're kind of eliminated from doing the open houses and doing the normal things where just anybody would schlep into an open house or into looking at the house. You really have somebody who's qualified and motivated to purchase.
That's right. And they want to do it now because they want to move now.
Right, because they need space for the 3 children that are all on the computer that need to have their own space so that they can
That's it.
work and the kids can be on.
Right.
I can't imagine what it's like for young families. I really feel for them. It's really
Yeah, it's a challenge, and the news is really that this is going to go on even after things officially open up. There are so many businesses now that are saying, it's been really successful with people working at home. We thought there was going to be a huge learning curve and it wasn't going to work, but they're now finding that it's working quite well.
Yeah.
And people have eliminated their commute and they are productive. And so we're seeing on the commercial side with businesses and with other professionals like attorneys and stuff, that they are really going to stay with remote working, maybe come into the office once a week or something. So that is a drive again, that it's not that somebody needs temporary change, that they're going to need that change going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Well, Nancy, thank you so much. I have your website at the bottom here scrolling, but why don't you tell us what your website is and let people know how to get a hold of you.
Okay, well, it's really simple. It's my name, nancyvalentine.com. And there's I have blogs on there. I have videos, especially about if you need to sell a property as part of a trust, if you're a successor trustee, which if you're a daughter or son and you have to sell a property, that would be you, a successor trustee. Or if it's part of a probate, there are a lot of older people who have died. They have a will, but they don't necessarily have a trust.
Right.
And so there are articles there and videos, and you're always welcome to call me with any questions. And I would love it if you'd like to join my newsletter. You can just send me a quick email. And
I get your newsletter. I love it. It has your grandchildren in it.
Yeah, I have 6 grandchildren, little six under 6, and so it's life goes on, and it's really fun. I'm not able to see 4 of them right now because they live out of the country, but everybody is making changes, and things like this, Facebook Live and Zoom, is wonderful for keeping in touch with people, and it helps us also keep in touch with our clients and helping them really stay in touch during these difficult times, because people are lonely, and it's been a big change, and it's getting really old. It's been like 9 months now.
Well, I think we're going to be doing it for another at least 6. So
yeah, so too. 6. So it's great to be able to reach out. This is a great thing that you do here with the Facebook Live, and I think that it's a wonderful way for people to get some information and feel comfortable with somebody, and then go to the next level if that's what it is. So I applaud you for doing this so well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, we both have our clients at heart, and we're very passionate about serving our community and our seniors in particular. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you one of these days soon.
Well, on Zoom, if nothing else, for FRT. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, I really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a very happy new year, and we've got to leave 2020 behind us and march on forward.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, everyone. Nancy Valentine, reach out to her if you have any real estate questions or needs. Thanks so much.
Thanks, bye.
All right, bye. Yeah, it was great. Nice interview. Let me bring Steve back, and we'll talk a little bit about, let's see, where's Steve? There's Steve. Hey, Steve.
Hello.
So yeah, Proposition 19, pretty crazy, huh?
Pretty scary.
Yeah, some good things in it, but it'll be interesting. I mean, the one thing I was kind of thinking of is, some families have that one kid that they'll move into a house, but I mean, if they need to sell the property to make it even, I mean, and nobody can afford the taxes, then I think we are going to see more sales of property for sure.
I was wondering what happens to the cities or the agencies that are relying on that property tax money when the person moves and they bring their prior property tax level with them. I think that would be kind of harmful to the cities that might be relying on a higher property tax level.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it was just a couple counties too. So even on the reverse side, it seems like, I don't know if it was Riverside or San Bernardino also. I don't think that you could crossover. I think it was Orange County, maybe. Nancy would have known, but interesting that, now you can kind of get more for your money too, as far as spreading out that quality of life and possibly moving to a county where your dollars will go a little bit further too. So very interesting. A lot of wiggle room for seniors for sure, but it certainly makes it very different for property that you may inherit and want to keep. So
it's kind of scary. I was listening to her and I'm like, 55, I'm not that far from there.
I know.
That will apply to me in a couple of years.
I know. Well, and I guess for only children, it will be okay if you want to move into mom or dad's house. But I mean, most people want to stay in their house too. So it'll be interesting. Right. It'll be very interesting to see how some of those things change. But so we will have you on next week. I'm trying to remember who we're going to have on next week. We're like full with everybody that we've scheduled through February. So we've got some great programs coming up. And of course,
we started 2021 off with a great guest.
Yeah, and please, everybody, let us know if there's somebody that you would like me to interview. We would love to have them on the program. It's all about getting resources to you, and for me, it's about what you don't know. Letting people know more about what they don't know, like Proposition 19, so and how it affects you. Right. So, all right, Steve, thanks so much. I will, maybe we'll walk around the Rose Bowl one of these days, huh?
Sounds good. Let me know.
All right. Okay.
Have a good weekend.
You too. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to look for our little extra here. I wonder, I've got a new little one too that I put together. Maybe it's not on here. Oh yeah, here it is. So I'm going to go ahead and play our new little extra. Here we go. Have a great weekend.